brightest days, from the darkest nights, from the sunny
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Forgot my hat. Hang on, I got it right here. Ta-da! 46 asterisk, folks. I put my money where my mouth is. Anyway, welcome to the daily All Hat No Kettle News Rodeo. I'm your host, Hat. Folks, I have a major tension headache right now. It's up the back of my neck and just clawing over my head. So, probably a hit or miss show today. I took a muscle relaxer, so I may just wind up passing out before the end of the show. Who knows? But we're here. Let's get into it. Got some interesting stuff today. A new piece of information came out regarding the John Kerry divulgation. Is that a word? John Kerry's divulging of military secrets to the Iranian foreign ambassador. A new little wrinkle has appeared in that. I'll get to that at the end of the opening block. We will, of course, cover Rudy Giuliani being raided by the FBI. And an interesting piece of the story I lifted from his interview with Tucker Carlson from last night. How the FBI was interested in everything except something that had everything to do with the investigation. We'll talk about that. And then in the after show, and sorry, YouTube, you don't get to watch this part, but one of the hosts of The Breakfast Club is in hot water for daring to support the police encounter with Micaiah Bryant in Columbus, Ohio from last week. And got some really, really good border news, including some staggering numbers as to how much this is costing us just now, not even knowing how much it's going to cost us down the road. Very, very, very scary numbers. I have done something different today, though. We're going to open and close with videos. This first video I have here is Babylon Bee, so I'm keeping the tradition up to a point. This is a very funny piece on the science that the CDC is using to tell you what you can do and what can't you do. And then at the end of the day, we will have FreedomToons from this week regarding how the Republican Party is steadfast in its rock bed principles for a few years at a time. And it's very funny. And folks, we poke fun at both sides on occasion here on All Hat No Cattle. And so every now and then the Republicans got to take it too. So why not? Let's get into it, shall we? First of all, hello, Sunshine RN18. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, JF, for the well wishes. I appreciate it. A quick side note. I'm so glad you guys found me on DLive. It seems like at least a few of you know that I completely screwed up the channel yesterday. I thought I was updating my channel name, and it turns out I updated the entire channel address. So now DLive is no longer dlive.tv/AHNC, as it said in the video and the opening splash screen that I forgot to change. It actually is now AHNC_hat. So that's the same as the Trovo address. I totally blew it. I am so sorry. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like I can get it back. Because from what I've heard from Electric Dog, once you change your name on DLive, you can't go back to the old one because they consider the old one to be already taken, even though it's yours. I don't even know if I should try or not. It seems to be kind of a silly thing to jerk you guys around by constantly changing the name of the show. But I am obviously going to lose people who don't know that it changed. I will do my best to update all of the graphics so that will be reflected, so I won't have to keep repeating myself, and you'll be able to actually look at it instead of hearing me say it is now AHNC_hat. All right, so our Babylon Bee bookend. This is the one on the left and the only Babylon Bee bookend today. This is titled The Babylon Bee Guide to Choosing Safer Activities. And we have here an interview with a proponent of science, as Ben Shapiro likes to put it, a representative of the CDC. Here we go.
I'm Kyle Mann.
And I'm Ethan Nicole. This is the Babylon Bee News Desk. This week, the CDC released a Choosing Safer Activities guide for both vaccinated and unvaccinated people.
With us now is CDC health expert Dr. Herb Flintstone. Doctor?
Hello.
This guide seems to be quite helpful, making it clear what's safe, less safe, and least safe. Outdoors, indoors, vaccinated and unvaccinated.
Thank you.
Like going to the barber, this guide makes it clear that if you're vaccinated, that's safe to do with a mask on.
No.
What?
That's guaranteed COVID.
But the guide.
It's wrong.
Wait, didn't you make the guide?
Yes.
And it's wrong.
No, it's science.
You just said it's wrong.
No, I said it's science.
So it is safe.
No, it's science that's not safe.
And what is the science behind that? But that's just a piece of paper that says science on it.
Thank you.
Okay, so this kind of demonstrates how the guide can be confusing to some people who are just trying their best to be safe. Is there a simpler way to get the information out there?
Oh, yeah.
Yes?
Big time.
Then why?
For science.
So you make it confusing for science? That's not helpful.
It is science, though.
It doesn't sound like it.
Wear a mask!
What?
Wear a mask right now!
In the middle of the interview?
Otherwise...
Otherwise we'll die?
No, you're not gonna die.
You just implied we will.
Because you will.
What?
It's simple. Wear a mask right now or you'll die, which you won't. And if you have the vaccine, you have to quarantine for, I don't know, another year.
What? Stop it! Stop that!
Listen, people look to the CDC for clear, helpful information with the intent of moving past all this. But when you make it sound as if hiking alone in, like, Antarctica or something
That's
is...
the number one way to spread the virus.
Hiking alone in Antarctica?
Yes.
How?
That is not science.
You'll die.
No, I won't. No, I won't.
And you'll still need to wear a mask.
Oh, what, when I'm dead?
Yes!
In my coffin?
Yes!
Buried in my grave?
Especially buried in your grave.
Why would I need a mask on when I'm buried in my grave? And if you show me that paper, this interview is over.
The damage you've done to people's perception of experts in the science community cannot be overstated. Do you understand that?
This interview is over!
Waste of time.
In other news, an entire water polo team has drowned while kneeling for the national anthem.
And the home of the brave.
Tragic.
The Babylon Bee, everyone. As much as I like that piece, I love the ending most of all. A water polo team dying drowning because they knelt during the national anthem. What could be a better out than that? I mean, seriously, what could be better than that? All right, of course, my personal conceit, the market, it's all red today, folks, except for one thing, and I'll get to that at the end. The Dow Jones, S&P 500, and NASDAQ were all below a point today. The only slight winner was the Dow Jones only being down over half a point. The NASDAQ was down almost a full percentage. Gold actually slipped again. I don't know what's going on with gold. Crude oil actually fell over 2.25%. It's now sitting at $63.53 a barrel for West Texas Intermediate Sweet Crude. Bitcoin's the big winner, though. Bitcoin has surged back. If you look at the chart, let me bring it up here. This is today's chart for Bitcoin, going back to last night at 8 o'clock last night. And as you can see, it is pretty much a steady rise with a big boom starting this afternoon, right around noon, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, and a slight dip, but it is working its way back up again. So Bitcoin is currently sitting at 756 and change. That is up over 7% from its previous mark. So let's hear it for Bitcoin, coming right along. Okay, good news for those of you looking for sources and more sources that aren't CNN, MSNBC, and the networks. The Epoch Times has launched its own TV channel. They have great interviews, news segments, really good stuff. Larry Elder is part of the team. I'm going to put the link here in the chat of the channels. And good day to you, Green Badger Outdoors. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. So here is the link to Epoch Times TV. Check it out. Oh, I can't see my... There we go. I couldn't see my send button for YouTube. Let me raise that up real quickly in case I have to do that again. Excuse me just a moment. Quality live production here on All Hat No Cattle. There we go. All right. So definitely check out Epoch Times TV. You've got Steve Deese, again, Larry Elder, and of course, Jan, I believe his last name is pronounced Yenelik. Jan is, of course, the interviewer for American Thought Leaders, a very, very smart person, a great interviewer. You've got Crossroads with Joshua Phillips, and then Facts Matter and Life and Times with the other two great of their reporters. So definitely check this out, folks. I think you're going to love it. I know I certainly do. I can't remember if you need a subscription to the Epoch Times to be able to view Epoch TV or not, though. Since I already have a subscription, it launched for me automatically. I didn't think until just now whether or not that's a problem for non-subscribers. But it may be worth your while to subscribe to get it. Please consider it. All right, so you guys might have noticed I don't cover a lot of Trump stuff. And that's for a very specific reason. It can get kind of boring. He says things that are great, but he's always saying things that are great, and they're reported widely. So for the most part, I kind of just stay away. Now, when he makes a recommendation for a congressional or a senatorial candidate, things like that, I don't see the need to go to that right away, because let's see how they're doing in the primary first. Then maybe we can get some traction with that. So I kind of hold off on a lot of that. But I saw this today. It technically came out yesterday, but I saw it today. And this is great. This is great. It's from the Daily Caller by Olivia Ingracia. And it says, quite simply, Trump would, quote, certainly consider Ron DeSantis as a 2024 running mate. Quoting Trump again, a lot of people love that ticket. Folks, that is my go-to. That is my go-to for 2024. If DeSantis doesn't run as a solo act and give Trump a hard run as a primary candidate, which I don't expect. If Trump does run in 2024, I don't expect DeSantis to go up against him head-to-head, especially if Trump gives him the nod as vice president. Because think of it this way. Trump can't serve a second term, as I understand it. And please correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. As I understand it, you can only serve 2 terms as president. You can't serve 1 term and then be reelected a cycle later and serve 2 terms. That's the way I understand it. And please, again, correct me if I'm wrong. If it's 2 consecutive terms, I just forgot that part. But if it is still, if Trump would be a lame duck going in, being sworn in 2025, then DeSantis would be a shoo-in for president in 2028. He'd be an absolute shoo-in. DeSantis is a young guy. He's, by all accounts, healthy. He's a former athlete. He was baseball in high school, and he got a baseball scholarship to, I believe, Yale. So he's definitely top end athlete, and he's incredibly smart. So I see this as good news. I really do, and we'll just have to play it by ear from there. Now, as I understand it, at this point in time, Trump is not interested in announcing a candidacy until right around the midterms next year. He could announce early, but if he does, that would put a lot of restrictions on him regarding financing, certain other things that he could do outside the purview of being a candidate. So I think it would behoove him to hold back until after the midterms and then announce. Also, by announcing early, that would suck a lot of the air out of the room for the Republican candidates for 2022, the way I see it. Of course, I could be completely wrong. I'm not much of a prognosticator. These are just my thoughts. But I really see this as a win-win. And as Dan Bongino has said a couple times, in fact, he said so to President Trump Wednesday when Dan Bongino interviewed Trump on a show. Bongino said specifically, you should announce your vice president early. So that way you can double your forces out there in the field. You'll have your vice president right there and then, and you can go out and just, I'm putting words in Dan's mouth, but it's scorched earth from there on out, just scorched earth. No one will be able to touch you. And if anything, that would force the Democrat to play their hand early and choose a vice president while they're still in the primaries. So it's really win-win in my opinion. And Ray, thank you so much. It is Witcher Friday. Thank you so much. And good afternoon, Dog. Nice to see you. Dog, thank you for that link earlier about Arizona. That was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I really appreciate it. In case you missed it, y'all, there's a YouTuber who did a quick hit from his car. I guess as it is put in some circles, Blue Anon, as you know, Blue Anon are the blue check marks conspiracy theorists all over Twitter. A Blue Anon hack was saying that something nefarious was afoot because the voting machines that had been part of the new tabulation, the audit, I should say, of the Maricopa County vote from 2020, that they were being packed up, and that something really sinister was going on. Where are these machines going? What's going on here? And I forget the gentleman's name. Please excuse me, Dog. Feel free to put it in the chat. Oh, Ray says he can serve more than 2 terms that John Quincy Adams did. Thank you so much, Ray. I appreciate it. Once again, the chat doing the heavy lifting here on All Hat No Cattle. That would still make DeSantis a shoo-in for 2032. No problem at all. But anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah, the machines. They're being boxed up. The Republicans are up to something here. What's going on? And so the gentleman who did the hit from his car, he's got over 8,000 subscribers, so obviously he's a well-known person. But he said, the audit's over. They're packing them up because they don't need them anymore. They're putting them back where they belong. It was so funny. It was so funny to see people light their hair on fire real time and then fire extinguishers just break out. Too funny. All right, moving right along. So I teased Rudy earlier. So in case you've been living under a rock, Rudy Giuliani's apartment and offices, or home or apartment. Am I getting him confused with someone else? Anyway, Rudy Giuliani's home and office, that's it, yeah, home and office, were raided by the feds yesterday morning. They showed up at 6 a.m., pounding on the door, 7 agents altogether. Now, His Honor says that they were very polite, very professional. He did not in any way impugn their actions as being, heavy-handed or anything like that. He did say, of course, though, that the raid makes 0 sense since he has been telling the Justice Department for 2 years, when they told him they were looking into his dealings in Ukraine, he said, I'll come in and I'll answer every question except those that are privileged conversations between myself and my client, the president. That was it. That was the only stipulation, which is completely legal. Privileged conversations are not divulgeable except under extreme circumstances. you basically have to be colluding to commit a crime for privileged conversations to be considered able to be released, releasable, whatever the word is. But the interesting part of this is what Rudy said to the FBI guys when he offered them a few hard drives. Now, remember, the search warrant said that they were to confiscate electronic devices, and they took 7 electronic devices, including phones and computers, from Rudy, and then they took 2 other devices that didn't belong to him, but were in those 2 places, the home and the office. But Rudy offered them a few other hard drives, and the agents reacted in a very interesting way. So let me play this for you.
Minimally. The only time they got perturbed is at the end of the search, when they had taken about, I'd say, 7 or 8 electronic items of mine, which is what they took, and 2 of someone else's. They weren't taking the 3 hard drives, which of course are electronic devices. They just mimic the computer. I said, well, don't you want these? And they said, what are they? I said, those are Hunter Biden's hard drives. And they said, no. I said, are you sure you don't want them? I mean, the warrant required them to take it. And they said, no. And one last time I said, don't you think you should take it to and they said no. Now, Hunter Biden's hard drives fall within the scope of the subpoena. The subpoena required them to take all electronics, but they decided to leave that behind. And they also were completely content to rely on my word that these were Hunter Biden's hard drives. I mean, they could have been Donald Trump's. They could have been Vladimir Putin's. They could have been anybody's. But they relied on me, the man who had to be raided in the morning, because I'm going to destroy the evidence. I've known about this for 2 years, Tucker.
So it goes on from there. But yeah, these are Hunter's hard drives. Oh my God, get those away from us. Oh no, we don't want to go anywhere near that. Oh my God, that's Hunter Biden. That's a bridge too far, Rudy. We can go after yet another Trump lawyer, but heaven forbid we do anything like investigating the criminal activities of the current former vice president's son. Heaven forbid. And remember, not one person has been able to claim successfully that those laptops, I should say, there were several, are not Hunter's. Not one. In fact, Hunter's lawyer, personal lawyer, when this story first broke, sent a letter to the owner of the shop that had ultimately confiscated those laptops because they'd been left past 90 days and therefore, per a signed agreement with Hunter, became property of the shop. Hunter's lawyer went to the guy and said, we want our laptop back. Okay, so kind of throws the whole Russian disinformation thing out the window. That didn't stop the media and 50 former intelligence officials just completely beclowning themselves by saying it was Russian disinformation. The intelligence community, talk about an oxymoron. Anyway, so there's Rudy laying it on the line. These are Hunter's hard drives. Oh my God, no! How do you know they're his? Well, you said so. We trust you. If you trusted me, why are you raiding me? Well, we got to go. So that makes all kinds of sense. Okay. For some reason, I didn't have the title up on that. This is from yesterday, but since we covered the joint address to Congress fully Wednesday night, in fact, I think we stayed till close to 10:30 by the time we wrapped up. I took a lot of notes during that hour plus ramble and lie-a-thon, but we saw that there weren't a lot of people watching on C-SPAN. What we also saw was the massive ratio of dislikes to likes. I mean, several times over. And that was before YouTube had a chance to scrub them. Yeah, YouTube, I'm talking to you. We know what you do. But the total numbers came in for the viewing audience for that speech. 22.6 million, across 7 major networks, including Fox and Fox News. 22.6 million. Now, the esteemed journalist, Brian Stelter, put out in one of his newsletters before the speech that because of politics overload, I believe was the term he used, we shouldn't expect a lot of people to watch the most popular president in the world. We shouldn't expect a lot of people to watch him speak for the first time in front of Congress. All 200 people socially distanced wearing masks after being fully vaccinated. But hey, we just saw the scientist from the CDC. It's science, right? He held up the sign. It's science. So, fine. I'm cool with that. But Stelter said expect 30 million, which is a low ball, a real low ball. And Biden didn't even draw that. 22.6 is what he got across, again, 7 major networks. Here's the best part. Trump, his first speech, his joint session speech, drew 43 million. 43 million. And that was just a few weeks into his presidency. He hadn't really gotten all that much done yet. Biden went in Wednesday on his, 98th, 99th day? He had the whole vaccine tailwind behind him. Of course, he didn't do that, but he's been taking credit for it. He had the CARES Act pass. He had all that money, less than he promised, of course, go out to Americans. But somehow, people didn't want to watch him. And there were a lot of live streams covering that last night. Wednesday night. A lot. Blaze had one. Steven Crowder had one on his own on Blaze. Let's see. Who I just forgot. I had a bunch of them lined up. Oh, Daily Wire had a backstage totally devoted to the before, during, and after event. Lots of people doing it. I'm sure probably Hard Bastard did it too. So everybody was doing it. But 22.6 million. So, not just comparing it to Trump. Here's some other numbers for you. 52 million for Barack Obama in 2009, okay? 40 million for W in 2001. And those are Brian Stelter's numbers. Those are the ones that he wrote Tuesday, the night before the speech. And quoting him again, recent TV ratings erosion might make 30 million a more realistic barometer for Biden's address. Now, as we saw, not a lot of people online on C-SPAN, which is usually one of the more popular online outlets for White House and political stuff, pretty the major in a number of ways. USA Today, NBC News, CBS News, CNBC, and CNN all streamed it as well. They all had low numbers. Lots and lots and lots of dislikes on all of those. And the only outlet that had an actual approval rating above disapproval was ABC. And that was, as the article says here from the Daily Wire, that seems to track TV ratings. But I looked at some of the numbers here for the different likes to dislikes, and they were anywhere from 2 to 3 to 1. So I think one was 4 to 1. Massive dislikes. Now, interestingly enough, the White House has 2 versions of the speech up. One full one, and then another one I'll get to in a second. So here's the whitehouse.gov, the White House YouTube channel, 1.9 million subscribers. As of April 28th, I don't know why that says April 28th. It just loaded. Oh, never mind. It streamed April 28th. I forgot how YouTube worked for a second. As of when I loaded this just a couple hours ago, on the White House page, President Biden's address, 46 asterisk, had a total of 67,768 views. So over the course of over a day and a half, not even 68,000 views. And then you get to the likes to dislikes. Likes, 823. Dislikes, over 10,000. Over 10,000. Now, if you're lucky, your likes to dislikes with people who spam you, normally about 10 to 1. I saw better numbers than that, but usually that's the metric, 7 to 1 to 10 to 1, I believe. And this is definitely over 10 to 1, so not good. But then you also had, believe it or not, Dr. Jill. I know this is not Dr. Jill, but we had Dr. Jill doing something called the virtual guests for the First Lady's box. So I guess she had Zoom hookups with people who could watch from her box or something. I don't know. I didn't bother watching this. But this is also on the White House page. This has a total of 26,553 views over a day and a half. And the likes to dislikes, pardon me, let me do it the proper way. Dislikes to likes. Dislikes. 1.9 thousand as opposed to likes, which were 177. So again, over 10 to 1. Not good. And we know, again, that YouTube scrubs the dislikes. We know that for a fact. So this is what's left. Imagine how it was live. And in case you're wondering, yes, comments are in fact turned off on both of the pages. Because, as we all know, this is the most honest and transparent administration ever. So, of course, the comments are turned off. And you can't petition this White House either. In case you've tried, that part of the website's been taken down. Moving right along. It really pained me that I couldn't broadcast Thursday. I wanted to very badly for one specific reason. I wanted to cover Senator Tim Scott's rebuttal because we didn't have time to do it Wednesday night, and I wanted to give it my full attention Thursday, but I got so... let me see. I didn't get much sleep, but I remember now the reason I couldn't do it yesterday was I had my appointment at the oral surgeon. I couldn't get out of that. So that's the main reason I wasn't able to do it yesterday. But I also did not sleep very well, so it would have been hard for me to put something together anyway. I'm hoping that I can find the time to upload Senator Scott's speech to all of my channels to get it as much circulation as possible. I realize it's a couple days after the fact, but the more eyeballs, the better, right? I mean, don't hide your flame under a basket. But it's not so much what Tim Scott said, because what he said was absolutely dead on point. Senator Scott said specifically, I am the victim of racism. I've seen it. I've been followed around in stores. I've been pulled over for no reason. I think he actually said he's been pulled over for driving while black something like 5 or 6 times, including several times after he became senator. So it is a thing, and he acknowledges that. He's lived it. Remember, his grandfather was a sharecropper, picking cotton. And as Senator Scott likes to say, we went from cotton to Congress in 1 generation. So God bless you. But because he didn't toe the line that a black man's supposed to toe and agree wholeheartedly that systemic racism is a thing, something that Senator Scott said specifically does not exist in this country. He said there is racism in America, but America is not systemically racist, a term that you can never get the left to define fully, by the way. They'll never stick with one definition, because whenever you rebut the first definition, they'll revert to 4 more. Because the left cheats when it comes to language. They always cheat. But again, Senator Scott didn't toe the line as a black man. Think like we tell you to think, says the left, or we're going to take away your black card. But it reached a real new low on Twitter, and it's hard to say, really. By the way, Twitter stock dropped over 13% today. They missed their earnings forecast. And so it dropped all the way down to like $56, $54 a share. Beautiful sight to see. But on Twitter, I don't even know if I can say this without getting yanked off of YouTube, but I'm going to say it anyway. On Twitter, Uncle Tim trended, which is, of course, a direct reference to Uncle Tom, the character from Oh, shoot, the name. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I can't think of the name of the book that started the abolition movement in earnest. Guys, I don't want you to have my brain. No matter how old you get, do not have my brain. Uncle Tom's Cabin. See, it's right in front of me, and I couldn't remember the name of the book. I'll be honest with you. My mind kept saying Little House on the Prairie. That's how screwed up my mind is. I'm trying to think of Uncle Tom's Cabin, and my brain kept saying Little House on the Prairie. Do not ever get my memory. But yeah, Uncle Tim trended on Twitter for 12 hours. And as we all know, trending on Twitter is not organic. It is promoted by Twitter employees. They pick and choose what's trending. And Twitter was getting inundated with replies and requests. At Jack. Take this down. This is wrong. If you type learn to code on Twitter, they'll yank your account. But you can use the hashtag Uncle Tim for 12 hours and suffer no repercussions? Twitter is a den of vipers with dens of vipers inside the den of vipers. I never go there unless it's a news story and I need to use something. But as far as posting, never. Ever, never, ever. Doesn't matter anyway. I've been shadow banned since 2016. Electric Dog says in the D-Live chat that Democrats, I like that, Democrats, speak of the system as racist, another nebulous term, system. Yeah, and Ray, of course, trickle-down economics. Thomas Sowell, great rebuttal of trickle-down economics. And Dan Bongino did a nice piece on that today, too. It was very funny, very funny. Let me digress for a second to explain it. I can't remember the outlet that he was quoting, but it was talking about trickle-down economics, which, again, we all know is not a thing. It was a made-up term by the Democrats to try and slander the awesomely well-working supply-side economic plan that was used during the Reagan administration. And it's like Star Wars. That was the Strategic Defense Initiative, but the left labeled it Star Wars to make it sound, risible. Or is it risible? I can never remember how to pronounce it. But that article about, quote-unquote, trickle-down economics referenced a piece from the Wharton School of Business, as if to say, see, even the Wharton School of Business knows what trickle-down is. So Dan Bongino did what every normal person who wants to get the truth would do. He went to the footnote and called it up. And right there on the Wharton School of Business's page regarding trickle-down economics, it basically referred to the phrase as a scam, as a sham, as a falsehood. Yet the article, please forgive me for not remembering the outlet, but the article was trying to present trickle-down as a thing, as an actual economic policy. And so they reference something that turns out to completely refute their entire article. That's how stupid today's media is. And better yet, that's how stupid they think you are, that you can't follow the breadcrumbs. I'm not going to read some of the insane tweets that are in this article. It's from the Daily Wire by Tim Pierce. But I've given you the basics. But as Senator Scott said, the leftists are, quote, literally attacking the color of my skin after his speech. And it wasn't just Twitter. The View decided they wanted to get in on the act too. I'm going to play one of the pieces from The View after Tim Scott's speech. I believe that was yesterday afternoon. Sunny Hostin, of course, was ridiculous. Let me just summarize what Sunny Hostin said. She said that the only reason the Republicans had Tim Scott present the rebuttal was because Tim Scott's black. Now that's interesting because the only reason Kamala Harris is vice president is because she's a woman and she's black. We know that because Biden said during the campaign that he was going to choose a black woman as vice president. Not the most qualified vice president, not the vice president that most closely aligns with his views of governance, but a black woman. Those were the choices. Karen Bass could be vice president right now, but she has a little bit of a Cuba problem behind her. But that was Sonny Hostin. When the Republicans do it, they're bigots and racists, and they use tokens. When the Democrats do it, it's uplifting the community. But Joy Behar really took the cake because, as we all know, Sonny Hostin is black, but Joy Behar is white. And as we've been told over and over again, if you're of one class or group and you try to explain to someone who is quote-unquote lower on the stack than you are, then that is blank-splaining. So whenever men are in a conference with a woman and a woman says something and a man expands on that or corrects part of it, that is mansplaining. The feminists came up with that one. And then it took off. So, of course, one of the other big ones is white-splaining. Whenever a white person tries to expand upon or correct something that a colored person, again, I'm never using POC again, a colored person said. And Joy totally white-splains on Tim Scott. Now, I don't believe in such a thing as white-splaining or any of that splaining. I don't believe in it at all. But the left does, and Joy Behar is the icon of the left in many ways. Remember, she used to be funny. Now she's just insane. So here's Joy Behar, literally, and you know I don't like to use that word, literally white-splaining to Tim Scott. Let me play this for you. Where's my play button? Where's my play button? Oh, well, I'll just do it this way.
Tim Scott, he does not seem to understand, and a lot of them don't seem to understand, the difference between a racist country and a systemic racism. They don't seem to get the difference. Yes, maybe it's not a racist country. Maybe Americans, the majority, are not racist. But we live in a country with systemic racism. We discussed it this week again already about housing and about education and all of the things that are important to people. And the fact that Tim Scott cannot acknowledge this is appalling. How can you go out there and say that when you just said 2 minutes ago that you were the object and the victim of discrimination? And then he says that this is not a racist country. At least acknowledge that there is systemic racism. That's what I wanted to hear from him, and he didn't say it.
So you notice that she couldn't keep her narrative straight. She said, this is not a racist country, but it's systemically racist. She said that. But then she said, Tim Scott was wrong when he said America's not racist. She can't even keep her narrative straight 2 sentences in a row. Like any leftist. Let's be honest. They have the logical capability of a unitary system. And by unitary, I mean half of a binary. You have one switch. On. There's no logic tree there. It's just on. So that's Joy Behar, totally white-splaining. One thing I want to bring up, though, beyond what she did to Tim Scott, were her comments about housing and education. That's totally fair. That's totally fair. The minority communities do have a disproportionately lower home value than the white community. Not necessarily Asians, but blacks and Hispanics and Latinos definitely. That's a thing. And part of that can be ascribed to the old system of redlining and blockbusting. But those haven't been around for decades. Let's keep in mind, though, that the problem schools and the bad housing are directly attributable to Democrat policy. All of the worst schools in this country are in Democrat strongholds. All of them. Not everyone in a Republican area or a purple area are great. There are some poor performers. But if you want to go by average, if you want a bad school, go to a blue state. Especially a blue city. Especially a blue city. They are completely beholden to the teachers' unions. In fact, I've got a thing coming up in the after show about when schools are going to reopen, according to Biden. You're going to love that. And so, in housing, it's the same thing. The Democrats are the ones who control districting, who control property rates, taxation rates. They're the ones who get the money from housing and urban development, billions of dollars a year to spend on quote-unquote affordable housing, and they just spend it on pet projects and pocket the rest. So Joe Behar's insane on 3 points. But who are we to judge? By the way, if you watch The View in an unironic sense, if you watch The View for information, you should be euthanized. Just saying. So, 46 Asterisk did what every president does on his 100th day. He goes to Georgia and has a car rally. Yes, folks, car rallies are still a thing. And there weren't that many of them. Not many at all. You'll hear the honking in a second. It sounds like maybe 6, maybe a dozen cars. Maybe. But the reason they're honking is 46 Asterisk gave in to hecklers. As he's starting his address, titled Getting Back on Track, I thought it was Build Back Better. Now it's Getting Back on Track. The messaging of this administration has been abysmal since last year when they were running in the primaries. Just abysmal. They can never decide what they want to use as a slogan. But Biden starts to talk, and some people who were up front, not in cars, so dangerous people, were yelling, abolish ICE and close private detention centers. They were screaming it. You could hear it over the microphone a little bit. You can't hear it quite that well on the audio, because if I turned it up enough to hear that, Biden's voice would blast you. So I had to dial it down for that. But you'll hear the shouting. And again, close private detention centers, abolish ICE. A number of people shouting that. Of course, shouting over each other, because that's how things work. And good afternoon to Deborah Ellis and SRS 4859, and of course our dear friend Michael Scriven. I just saw you guys in the YouTube chat. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you all so much. But Biden says, oh, I'm working on it. Just give me 5 days. He's been in office for 100 days. He promised at the very beginning that he was going to close all private detention centers, and he signed an executive order to that effect. And I'll get into later in this article from the Daily Wire, by the way, as to what exactly that executive order did, and more importantly, what it didn't do. Thank you, Deborah Ellis. That's kind of you. And but let's get to his response to the hecklers. And notice how angry he is. Remember, whenever you challenge Biden, he loses it. In fact, I don't think I have the clip, but he actually started to get very irritated because he couldn't find his stupid mask after he gave the speech. I can't find my mask. I can't find my mask. He goes to the microphone and says, I can't find my mask. I'm in trouble. He's vaccinated. He's outside. The CDC says you don't need a mask outside if you're vaccinated, if you're not around people where you can't socially distance. Yet he refuses to leave the stage without his mask. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So here's Biden losing it in front of these protesters and begging them, just give me 5 more days and I'll give you everything you want. He's already gutted ICE by 90%. But here we go.
I agree with you. I'm working on it, man. Give me another 5 days.
Honk, 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 honk. I take it back. It sounded like 3 cars, not 6. SRS 4859 says in the chat about the speech from Wednesday night. The first address from the president is always called the joint address to Congress. The subsequent ones are called State of the Union, but the first one is always called the joint address, just so you know. But anyway, so as I said, Biden said right away that he was going to close private prisons. Here's the thing. Let me find it here. I've got it. Here it is. I scrolled right past it. This is from Newsweek. Not long after Biden took office, he signed an executive order aimed at closing all privately run federal prisons. Most private prisons in the U.S. were unaffected by the order because they are run at the state level. The order also did not apply to immigration detention centers, many of which continue to be run privately. So basically, he closed about 0 places. But just give him 5 more days, folks. Just give him 5 more days. I'm sure he's not counting the weekend as part of those days. SRS 4859 says in the YouTube chat, Biden is proof that the liberal supporters have very low standards. I would actually change that. I would say no standards. I would say that the reason Biden was elected president, honk honk, is because people voted against Trump. That's what got people to the polls. It wasn't Biden. Very, very, very few people said that they were voting for Biden. The vast majority said they were voting against Trump. So yeah, I'm gonna challenge you on the low standards and go with no standards. They're against things. They don't have any solutions. They're just too busy being against things. And Dog, you are correct. He should be wearing a bozo mask. Thank you. Wheatmouth 817 does make the good point, though. Why ruin Bozo's good name? That is a fair point. That's a fair point. Bob Bell is one of my heroes. I'm sure Dog knows Bob Bell very well. So we've got some sane news here. Every now and then I throw some state news into the show, and here's a piece of it. This is from Ella Kietlinska. I'm pronouncing your name right, Ella, from the Epoch Times. New Jersey, you may or may not know, has the highest tax burden for homeowners in the country. 2.2% of your assessed value has to be paid for property taxes. 2.2%. Now, that may not sound like a lot unless you compare it to some other states, like the lowest, which is Alaska. Alaska's tax burden is 0.3%. So doing the math, that's close to 4 times. Wait, 0.3, 2.2, 7 times. 7 times higher. Correct me on the math if you like. And there is such a thing as a Republican in New Jersey. And we've got right here New Jersey Assemblyman Gary Scharfenberger. I've been practicing that name, Scharfenberger. And Assemblyman Scharfenberger has an idea for the CARES funds that are coming into New Jersey. For some reason, the governor, the insane governor of New Jersey, wants to divert $40 million from the CARES Act. Excuse me. I couldn't find my phone. It was right in front of me. Wants to divert $40 million from the CARES Act to illegal immigrants in New Jersey. You remember, New York State passed a bill, and I believe it was signed by the progenitor of the Cuomo killing fields, Governor Cuomo, that they were going to spend several $billion on checks to illegals, checks that total several times more than what people got from Biden. I believe they're talking close to $5,600 for illegals in New York. How they're supposed to prove they're illegal, I don't know. That wasn't in the bill. I guess that'll be left up to the local people who are pocketing all the money. But New Jersey's going down the same road. $40 million for illegals in New Jersey. And to his credit, Assemblyman Scharfenberger said, hey, why don't we take that money and give New Jersey homeowners some property tax relief? Well, there's a problem with that because the CARES Act was specifically written to prevent states from using any of the money to reduce taxes. It's in the bill. A number of states have sued because of that. I haven't heard how far that suit's come along yet. I'm keeping an eye out on it. But God bless Assemblyman Scharfenberger, but I don't think he's going to get anywhere unless he joins that suit with the other Republicans. But New Jersey has always had a problem with its property taxes. They've always been incredibly high, and houses in New Jersey tend to cost a lot, especially in the nicer neighborhoods like Cherry Hill and Dartmouth. Is Dartmouth in New Jersey or is it Dartmouth in Connecticut? I can't remember now. But anyway, it doesn't matter. People have always had problems paying their property taxes in New Jersey. It's been a thing for a very long time. And now you've got people who have been out of work for over a year in some instances because of New Jersey's insane lockdowns. And not only do you have people who haven't been able to keep up with their property taxes, much less their mortgages, but you have renters who haven't been paying rent, which means that landlords who are still maintaining the buildings, the landlords are paying for utilities and upkeep and their taxes. They've got no revenue coming in, so how are they supposed to pay for that? It's a complete vicious cycle. So I hope this assemblyman gets somewhere with this. I doubt he will. He is, after all, Republican in New Jersey. But God bless him for trying. That's all I can say. That's Green Badger Outdoors. It does sound more like a double standard. That is fair. That is fair. Well, in fact, we know for a fact that the left is nothing but a double standard. Hypocrisy should be sown, or should be tattooed across their forehead. Just, I heart hypocrisy. I think that should be their new slogan. Sunshine RN18 or 18, depending on which you prefer, says in the D-Live chat, that's because people who work in New York don't want to live in New York, live in New Jersey. That's right. I forgot. What do they call them? The Tunnel and Bridges crowd, I believe that is. Not that I've ever lived in that area. I just seem to know that from somewhere. So we're running out of time for the first half of the show. I'm going to touch on the rest of these real briefly. First of all, Florida has passed another elections bill. It's going to tighten up drop boxes. They have to be monitored. They can only be at very specific locations. There's going to be fewer of them, and you have to show an ID when you drop a ballot off in a ballot box, a drop box. Pardon me. They have restrictions on who can drop off ballots, much tighter than before, and they've also passed where you have to have requested a ballot every election cycle if you want mail-in balloting, not just every 2 years as it was before. So no matter what the election, if you want a mail-in ballot, every year you've got to requalify, and they're going to require what is known as a wet signature, which means a handwritten, not digital, but a handwritten signature that has to be on file, and it has to match your mail-in vote, or it's not counted. So I thought Florida's election laws were good back in 2020, but they are not holding back. They are kicking it, and they're kicking it big time. Florida has become the new standard, you guys. It used to be Texas. Texas was the one that led the way. Greg Abbott has thrown that ball game completely. He's pulled a 180 on Texas. It is now Florida charging forward. In fact, I'll be honest with you. I've been seriously considered changing my move destination from Texas to Florida. I really have. Don't know if I will. Don't even know if we can afford it, really, the way housing prices in Florida are. We might wind up in a condo. But still, it's conceivable. It really is. It's conceivable. My cowboy hats will really look out of place in Florida, that's for sure, unless I go to the Panhandle. So real quickly, I teased this at the beginning. John Kerry, you remember the other day, we said that a interview between Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif and a economist who was interviewing him for a book regarding Iranian politics. According to an outlet who got the original recording, an outlet based out of Britain, Zarif told the interviewer that John Kerry told Zarif that Israel was behind 200 plus attacks on Iranian military interests in Syria over the years. That's what we knew at the time. Well, there's more out now. According to this article from the Daily Wire by Ryan Saavedra, Washington Free Beacon reporter Adam Credo obtained the audio file of the leaked call and had it independently translated. The translation revealed that, according to Zarif, Zarif had no idea that Israel was behind the strikes. Now, here's the part that we knew before. Zarif, quoting him, said, Kerry told me that Israel had launched 200 airstrikes against you. So, quoting Kerry, referencing Iran. And that's, again, was Zarif. The interviewer said, you didn't know? And Zarif replied, no. No. So that was a complete treasonous act, in my opinion, by John Kerry. I don't care if he was Secretary of State at the time or not. That's a military secret. And that was given to an avowed enemy of the United States and an avowed enemy of Israel. I mean, Iran starts their conferences, their political events, I should say, by chanting death to America, death to Israel. That's their thing. And then they burn mock-ups of both flags. They almost set the parliament on fire every time they do that. Idiots don't know anything about combustibles. But they can make I take that back. They can make a decent suicide bomb, suicide vest, or an IED. They are good at that. As far as burning things indoors, they're not all that smart. All right, I hate to give this short shrift. I really wanted to get into this in more detail. But remember the Polish priest from Calgary? We played the video of him chasing out the health inspectors and Canadian cops who were trying to basically invade his church on a Good Friday service because they thought, they had an idea, not a report, but an idea that the church wasn't following guidelines, health guidelines, Canadian versions of that. Well, he has an arrest warrant out for him now. The Canadians have put out an arrest warrant. A judge has said that cops and health inspectors can go into that church whenever, for whatever reason. He's fully backing them on that. And if the pastor or anyone else there interferes, they are to be arrested. And the officers are, and I'm quoting, are allowed to use whatever reasonable force is required. That's a quote. I'll never forget that. Whatever reasonable force is required. So, before I leave, I want to give you this link. Rebel News, which is a great outlet, it's a Canadian outlet that has been banned by YouTube for years now. Rebel News has got I should say demonetized. I think they're still on YouTube. I can't remember. Anyway, they've put together a donation site for this priest, for his legal bills. Also, the Canadian cops have been given the ability to shut down the church completely. So this is the link to the Rebel News site for Pastor Artur Pawlowski. I have donated to it. I did that earlier today. Right now, they're let me update it here. They are looking at 853 donors. 1,853 donors out of a goal of 2,500 donors. So they're moving right along. So please, if you can see it within your heart, you can make a one-time donation. You can give as much or as little as you like. So please consider helping them out, because this is the kind of thing we need to stand up for. We really, really do. All right, that is the end of the YouTube section of the program. And again, I changed the graphics, but I didn't load the right graphic when I fired up OBS. Let me see if I can find it real quickly. See if I can fix that. No, I can't. Never mind. That'll take too long. So again, for those of you who care to, the DLive channel is now AHNC_hat. Not just AHNC. I screwed it up yesterday. I can't explain how it happened, except I'm an idiot. So if you want to go to DLive and you currently have the /AHNC in your browser, you're going to have to add _hat to the end of that. Simple as that. If you can't remember that, just go to DLive and search AHNC and you'll find the new name for the channel. It's as simple as that. Thank you, Ray. I will in a second. Thank you so much. So anyway, gone quite a bit over. YouTube, you got some extra time today. God bless you all for being here. Thank you so much for your time. And again, Deborah L., so nice to see you again. It's been quite a while, if I remember correctly. And Michael Scriven and SRS 4859 and Green Badger Outdoors, thank you all for your support as well. Don't forget to hit that like button. I never say that, but it's true. Hit the like button. It helps. It always helps. Okay, YouTube, I'll see you later. That'll be Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern. However, if you care, tomorrow morning and Sunday morning, and every morning for that matter, I live stream The Witcher 3. I've finished streaming Witcher 2. I've now started The Witcher 3. I'm currently still in White Orchard. I've got a lot of places to discover. And thank you, Watt. Thank you so much. Nice to see you too. But I still got a lot of places in White Orchard to discover. I'll be starting at 9 a.m. Eastern and playing for at least 3 or 4 hours, at least. And then during the week, we start at 8 a.m. Eastern, and I play for about 3 hours. And that is on DLive, Trovo, and Twitch. So search for any of those, search AHNC, and you'll find me. All right, YouTube, thanks so much for being here. So long.